One of the most important things for all the aspiring students or the working professionals who want to be placed at good product based companies is to know about the entire interview process. Because if you do, you will not only have the edge over the other candidates of clearing that interview exponentially. And that is why this video will be a complete whole guide of all the kinds of interviews during the hiring of a software engineer. We will also talk about 3 important tips that you need to follow to excel in all these interviews. Now without much wait, let's get started with this video. Now the first interview process comes out to be your application and your resume selection. If it is an on-campus opportunity, you don't need to worry much about your application, as your college or your educational institution will submit the application on your behalf, right? If it is an off-campus job opportunity or you are a working professional who is looking for a switch, you need to apply for that particular job opportunity in the right way. And I have discussed about this right way in my previous video, in which I have explained about the entire process of asking for referral, and I have also shared a demo template for the referral message. You can check that video out. The link will be appearing over here, right? And then comes the resume selection part, in which you have to tailor your resume according to the requirements given for that particular job position. I will also share my resume template in the description. You can refer it for the same. Now your second interview process is your online coding interview. Most of the companies have this interview process, and they usually consist of 3 coding questions. From what I have observed, these 3 questions come selectively from 3 topics only, and those topics are graphs, DP and trees. I know that these are really big and hard topics, but to handle this, what you can do is you can check out the archives of the particular company you are applying for and check out the questions that they have been asking in the past couple of years. You will get to know a pattern of questions which that particular company is asking from the past couple of years, and you can practice the same for your interview. Now usually the cutoffs for these online coding rounds is on a higher side. And this means that you have to score at least 80% for clearing all these online coding rounds. For example, you have 3 questions. Try to solve all the 3 questions. But if you are not able to solve a question, don't leave that question completely. You still have to attempt that question, and you can add some hard-coded print lines so that some of your test cases might pass. This is surely better than leaving that question completely. Try to avoid that. Okay. Then comes your face-to-face coding interview. Now the very first point all these interviews is to reach at the interview site 10 to 15 minutes before time. If it is an online interview, you can log in 10 to 15 minutes before time, right? Use this time to calm yourself, and you can also rehearse your introduction in the meantime. Now when the interview starts, the interviewer will be introducing themselves. You have to listen to them carefully. And then when they ask for an introduction, give your introduction in a calm and concise manner. Right? After this, they will be explaining the problem to you which you have to solve in that interview. Now, this case requires active listening skills. You have to first listen to them really carefully. Don't interrupt them in between and let them complete finishing the explanation. After they have completed the explanation, you can then ask for your doubt or any clarification that you need, right? Then after this, you can share your thought process for the approach that you will be using to solve that particular question. When you and your interviewer have agreed on the approach, then only start coding the problem. Do not start coding the problem before that. Now while coding, you should be really careful on what are the names that you are using for your variables. Use a meaningful name. I have seen a lot of people still getting away with using XYZ variable name, but that is really not a good practice, and that leaves a bad impression as well. Using very long meaningful names is also not a good practice. Okay, try to make them short and precise. Now while coding the solution, be more vocal about what you are coding and what are the steps that you are taking. Being silent and only coding leaves a bad impression, and the interviewer might think that you are cheating or taking the code from any other side. So try to avoid this silence and explain your code throughout the process. After this, when your interview comes towards the end, your interviewer will be asking if you have any questions for them or not. Do not say that you don't have any questions. This just signifies that you are not much interested in joining that company. Try to avoid this, and you can ask some relevant questions. You can sound more curious by asking the questions around the company's culture or values, or what does a day of a software engineer in that particular company looks like. This is a general sort of questions which I used to ask, and you can use the same. Don't ask questions around feedback or if I'm selected in this interview round or not. This is not a right practice and leaves a bad impression on the interviewer as well. Now let's come to our 4th interview round. And this interview round usually revolves around 4 topics, and those topics are system design, operating system, DBMS and networking. I have discussed about what to prepare for these topics and where to prepare from in my previous video. You can check that video out. Link will be coming over here. Additionally, I would like to mention that this round is very company specific. For some companies, you might have this round, and for other companies, you might do. And also, this round is specific to the experience level. For very initial level of engineers or for the graduates, this interview round might not be considered of much value. But as and when you grow as an experienced engineer or for the experienced professionals who are looking for a switch, this interview round is of much higher value. And that is why preparing for this interview round in that case is really important. So keep that in mind. Now we will come to the fifth and the last interview round, and that is the HR round. This is not a very technical round. Instead, it is based on the projects or the internships that you have mentioned in your resume. If all the things that you have mentioned in your resume are genuine and valid, you will be good to go for this round. Try to avoid adding fake information to your resume, because let's say you have added on a project that you did not work upon in your resume. Now if the interviewer takes a deep dive into that project and asks you questions from its core, there are very high chances that you will not be able to answer those questions because you have not worked on it, right? And this is a major red signal, and that is why you need to avoid. Then there are some situation related questions in this round. These questions revolve around what would you do if you were in this particular situation, or have you faced this situation in your past or not? These kinds of questions. You should always answer these questions in the STAR technique. Now the STAR techniques involve 4 steps. The first step is S. S stands for situation, the situation that you were in. Then comes T. T stands for the task that you were given. Then comes A. A stands for your action plan. Then comes R. And R stands for the result that came out of this situation, right? This is the way that you should be answering these types of questions. And you should not try to portray yourself as a very high valued person who has never made any mistake. This just seems unrealistic, right? Instead, a story around you facing a problem and then solving it with all your hard work makes a much more impactful story and appears to be more realistic. You should always try to include this. So this was all about the entire interview processes and some basic pointers that will help you in getting through with these interviews smoothly. Now let's talk about those 3 tips that will help you in excelling all these interviews. Let's start. Tip number 1. Try to reduce the scope of errors. Now in the interview, we might not have control over the problem that the interviewer will be asking. But still, we have the control over a lot of questions because those are inevitable. For example, you will be asked questions on tell me something about yourself. At the end of the interview, you will be asked that if you have any questions for the interviewer or not. In HR interview, you will be asked questions on your projects and your internships. These are all the things that you can prepare beforehand. And that is why you should not be making any errors or communication gaps in these fields. Got it? Tip number 2 is active listening. Try to listen properly and carefully to what interviewer is saying. When he is telling you about the problem or explaining the problem, listen to them carefully. Do not try to interrupt them in between. And when they are completed, then only you should put forward your thoughts. Inactive listening and interrupting the interviewer in between comes as a really bad impression. Please try to avoid it. And the tip number 3 is behavior. In some interviews, there might be a case when the interviewer is not able to get the approach with which you are trying to solve the question. Do not start arguing with the interviewer on that approach. Try to explain that approach to the interviewer calmly and also have an open mind about what the interviewer is saying. Being harsh and arguing will not lead to any solution. Instead, it would lead to you being rejected. So try to avoid this and keep your cool during the interview. So this was all about the interview processes of a software engineer and some tips that can help you excel in these rounds. I have also planned to share the detailed processes of some specific companies as well, and we'll try to release them soon. Don't forget to check them out. That's all from my side. This was Harshit Trehan signing off. Take care everyone, and I will see you in the next video. Till then, keep preparing and be focused.
If I keep on fighting, if I keep on trying